Did you know that Dr. Phil once literally put a man in blackface on his show? Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Kendall, and this is the third and final part of my 3-part series on Dr. Phil's House of Hatred. If you haven't seen the first 2 parts, I recommend you go back and check them out to learn more about how Dr. Phil forced marginalized people to share a bedroom with bigots who hate them, and then spent multiple days encouraging the bigots to say hateful things to them. When the housemates aren't being hateful enough on their own, Dr. Phil will conveniently pop up to prompt them to get bigoted with it, even going as far as gathering all of the housemates together just to talk about how disgusting they all find John, the 700-pound man, to be.
Let's just take a look at John's most unflattering moments.
Dr. Phil tells us that John has been refusing to shower. What Dr. Phil fails to mention, however, is that John's refusal to shower is due, in large part, to Dr. Phil not making sure the shower in the house was accessible to someone John's size or someone with John's physical limitations. Taking a shower typically requires that you fit into the shower. This Dr. Phil roast the fat guy session takes up most of an entire episode on the miniseries, which again is only 6 episodes long. This means that nearly 20% of the entire show is just Dr. Phil goading people into saying mean things to one fat guy.
This is exactly what you believe, right? Just an absolute worthless, no good tub of lard behaving like some kind of idiot.
Yes. It's at this point that I do want to briefly acknowledge that John, as he's known on Dr. Phil's show, is fairly famous for his appearances years later on another reality television show, My 600-Pound Life, where John went by the name Steven. John/Steven's episodes of My 600-Pound Life are fairly infamous, and he comes off extremely poorly in them, even worse than he comes off in Dr. Phil's House of Hatred, which is already not great. That, however, does not in any way negate or excuse the ways that he was verbally and emotionally abused by Dr. Phil years earlier. So Dr. Phil next forces the housemates to go around the room and say whether they want John to be kicked out of the house entirely. As they answer, Dr. Phil lectures anyone who says that John should stay and accuses them of only wanting John there for entertainment purposes.
Do you want him here for other than entertainment?
Shouldn't therapists have more introspection and insight about themselves? Dr. Phil is the one who wants John there for entertainment purposes. He's literally creating an entertainment product. That's the reason he wants all of them there. The only reason he wants all of them there. For some reason, every single time that Dr. Phil pops up in this show, he's either falling over backward to make best friends with the bigots, or he's being needlessly antagonistic toward the marginalized folks anytime they push back even in the slightest on their housemates' cruel beliefs. After John, with the encouragement of Gary the head, attacks B, calling her the N-word, telling her to get out of their country, and physically intimidating her, Dr. Phil responds by chastising B.
Come on, B. Why would you even dignify him?
He's been doing that all day. I was fed up with it, and I was just tired of it. I exploded.
If you need a miracle in your life, then be a miracle in your life. Create what you want.
It is obvious to anyone with eyes and a brain that Gary the head was clearly the one who initiated these attacks on a black woman. Because obviously. But Dr. Phil seems to think that Gary is the moral compass of the household and is only disappointed in him for not stepping in.
What are you doing egging this on, Gary? What, you got better sense than that.
I just want to take a moment to let that sink in. He wanted the head to stop the attack on the black woman. Eventually, Dr. Phil decides to pull out the TV therapist big moves, which, as it turns out, are face and a fat suit. Not a lot of footage still exists of this part of the show online, which I suspect that Dr. Phil's producers had a heavy hand in ensuring, but even the limited visuals that do exist are shocking, to say the least. The miniseries culminates in Dr. Phil instructing the housemates to each come up with 3 impactful questions that they'd like to ask him. If they try hard enough on this exercise, he promises, and come up with the most important questions, his answers are going to change their lives. If his answers aren't life-changing for them, well, he says that's their fault, not his.
I want you to be thinking about 3 things that you personally want to ask me. If you are honest with yourself about it, the answers should be life-changing. If they're silly and frivolous and superficial, then the result will be silly, frivolous, and superficial. Knowledge is power, and I'm going to give you all that I have or can gather to bring a positive impact on who you are and where you're headed. Am I clear on this assignment?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Fair enough?
It's in that moment, I think, that we get to the heart of the issue with Dr. Phil's House of Hatred, and, quite possibly, the problem with Dr. Phil himself. In Dr. Phil's world, a therapist bears no share of the responsibility in making treatment a success. If a patient succeeds, that's because of him. But if they fail, that's on them. That's it for today's video. A lot of you in the comments on earlier videos have been requesting that I tell the story of how Dr. Phil grossly exploited a very mentally ill Britney Spears. So that will be the next video.